I mean, it's hard to choose a favorite matchup in this weekend, but this one might do it. Where I want to start is obvious, like the heater that these quarterbacks is on is incredible. I looked this up. Like Jordan Love and Dak Prescott combined have finished their seasons with 48 total touchdowns to 6 picks. You could argue these are the two hottest quarterbacks in the league heading into the postseason. What I want to do is flip it and say, you've seen both of these teams, both of these defenses have had their struggles at times. What do they need to do to have some success against their opposition, against these opposing quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think obviously going into the game, all the talk, and we'll obviously get into it early in the broadcast about Jordan Love and Dak Prescott and the way they've kind of performed offensively, and we'll get into all that. But in my mind, the entire story of this game, I think, falls specifically on Green Bay's defense. I think for Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur to continue to operate this offense the way they want, right, with the mix of play action under center, then they can get to drop back empty. They're so multiple, they don't really have any tells. If you watched Green Bay's offense, you would say, okay, what style do they play? Well, one play they're under center, one play they're an empty gun, one play it's gun run, one play it's under center play action pass. LaFleur's really good at mixing it up. The point I'm making, though, is in order to play that style, in order to not just turn into a drop back game and say, okay, Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence just rush the quarterback because we got to play from behind. No one wants to play that style against Dallas, and I know that's not Green Bay's style to begin with. So if Green Bay's defense can keep a lid on Dallas, which again is no small feat, this Dallas offense, when they're rolling and they get multiple guys involved, they're as good an offense as we've had in the NFL. If they can keep a lid on it, everything else falls into place for Green Bay to be able to play their style. If it gets out of hand early and Dak, gets the opening possession and goes down and score, and then there's a 3 and out, and then if all of a sudden this turns into 14-17, that just really gets out of hand fast. So I think everything Matt LaFleur wants to do on Sunday is contingent upon Joe Barry's defense. They need to be the Green Bay defense of last week we saw against Chicago, and not the defense that gave up 30 plus to the Panthers.
It's a great point that you bring up. And I love the idea that you had Green Bay's season opener a lifetime ago, and then you get to check in on them on Thanksgiving. They play phenomenally, and now we're heading into the playoffs. How have you seen what they do evolve? It seems like obviously as Jordan Love has become a better player, their offense has become a bit more multiple, a bit more, obviously more productive. How have you kind of seen what they do change as Jordan Love has grown in confidence?
Yeah, I think obviously Jordan Love is the story of the season. His growth. He started out really good, as you said. We called their season opener. He looked great up in Chicago, and we said, oh my God, Green Bay, they've got their third quarterback in a row, and he'll be the quarterback for 10 plus years. And then they kind of hit a little bit of a lull, and then there started to be a question mark. Okay, is Jordan Love the guy? And then he got as hot as any quarterback in the league. You mentioned the stats of him and Dak combined. Him alone was like 16 touchdowns to 1 pick over the last 8 games, or 18 touchdowns. Something absurd.
18, yeah.
18 touchdowns with 1 interception in 8 games. It's just, that's obviously the story. But alongside that, the growth of these young wide receivers is just really unprecedented. They don't have a guy catching a pass aside from Aaron Jones at running back and A.J. Dillon. But as far as their tight end and receiving core, they don't have a guy on the field catching a ball who's more than 2 years into the league. And it's really remarkable, the production that they've gotten from rookies and second-year players. And one of their second-year players, Christian Watson, hasn't even really played. So, it's really remarkable. I think the job that Matt LaFleur's, the job that he has done, his staff, taking this really young group and bringing them to the playoffs and having the offensive production that they have, you got to tip your cap. It's been a really, really job well done.
We obviously knew that CeeDee Lamb was great coming into the season, but I don't even knowing he was an all-pro, I don't know how many people saw this coming. And it's easy to give the quarterback all the credit, but I'm looking at his numbers right now. Like since week 6, since they retooled their offense after they lost to San Francisco, this guy's on a streak of 6 straight games of getting targeted 10 plus times. He targeted 17 times against Detroit. Like Dallas is not afraid to just get him the football by any means necessary. Is there any, I mean, I'm going to guess the answer is no, because the guy's got 1,700 yards. Like, is there anything you can do to mitigate the way that he can just take over a game?
It's kind of funny. We just talked about Green Bay and, their kind of cast of young players and very talented, albeit inexperienced, but they spread the ball around, right? Different guys led them in receiving, different games and different target shares. And they don't really have that one guy that the offense runs through, which I think is part of their success. And then on the other side, the offense is clearly runs through CeeDee Lamb. And quite frankly, it's hard to blame them. Obviously, I think he's the best overall receiver in the league this year. And I know Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, in big picture are obviously in that conversation. But I think what CeeDee Lamb is able to do week in and week out, the amount of variety of routes that he can run and the amount of positions that he can align in, he's one of the rare guys that he can go play X receiver and Z receiver like a traditional Randy Moss and the guys we've seen over the years and be wildly successful, but then also come in the slot and run slot routes that don't necessarily always correlate with what you're able to do out on the perimeter. So, I mean, he's just a really unique guy. And I don't blame him. Why wouldn't you give him the ball a million times? I think when Dallas is at their best is like a game like last week against Washington. CD had 13 catches, but then Jake Ferguson's making third down conversions, and then Brandon Cooks is catching touchdowns, and he's taking the top off. Like when they can get the ball to multiple guys and CeeDee Lamb, then I think as a defensive coordinator, you just stand there and say, well, I don't know what to do, right? I don't know what else to do. They have so many weapons. So I think spreading the ball around for Dallas, I still think has to be a big part of their priority, through the playoffs. But when you got a guy like CD, sometimes it's as simple as we just got to get the ball to our best player.